This hearing is called to order. Good afternoon. Welcome, Administrator Bridenstine. Next week, on October 1st, NASA will reach a new milestone. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration will turn 60. And I have to say, Mr. Administrator, you don't look a day over 55. The 60th anniversary of NASA's founding by Congress in 1958 provides an opportunity to not just look back at the past accomplishments, but to examine how we can build upon past glory, to push NASA and our national space program forward, to meet new challenges facing our nation in the 21st century. Our country should be proud of our history in space and recognize everyone who has stepped forward to serve our nation. The United States won the space race and planted an American flag on the surface of the moon that remains standing today. Many of the names that have made NASA a success, like Armstrong and Aldrin and Glenn, have become household names that are recognizable throughout the world. Others, like Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, and all the women who served as human computers, have been hidden figures in our history and are just now getting the recognition that they deserve for their legacy of brilliance and strength. Looking forward, we have an opportunity to define a new generation. A generation that could witness American boots stepping foot on the surface of Mars and once again planting an American flag. However, in order to achieve this goal, there are a lot of key decisions that both Congress and the administration will have to make. I believe that this begins with extending the operation and utilization of the International Space Station beyond 2024 to 2030. American taxpayers have invested over $100 billion in the ISS, and it is important that we maximize the return on taxpayer investment. China is expected to have an operational space station in low Earth orbit by 2022. We cannot cede low Earth orbit to China or to any other nation. The United States government must consider having a permanent human presence in low Earth orbit, which may require a government station after the ISS reaches the end of its useful operation. This can be accomplished without directly competing with the private sector and private space stations. We must also look to extend the presence of American astronauts beyond low Earth orbit into cislunar and deep space. The Trump administration is establishing a plan to return astronauts to the lunar surface by 2029. I share the administration's goal of returning the United States to the moon to establish a human presence and to begin commerce. However, it is imperative that our national space program doesn't get bogged down on the moon at the expense of reaching Mars. As I have previously noted, Mars is, and I believe should be, the focal point of our national space program. Sending Americans to the surface of Mars and beyond will define this next generation. I would like to thank Administrator Bridenstine for being here today. We live in interesting times, and we have the opportunity to ensure together that as the next space race begins, the United States will once again remain the leader in space. Now I recognize the ranking member of the full committee, Senator Nelson, to give his opening statement.